Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the Tough Cover podcast right here on the Painted Lines with your host, Mark Henry Jr. Please go follow at the Painted Lines on Twitter and subscribe right here on YouTube and Twitch or wherever you're hearing this, and follow me at Mark Henry Jr. _ and follow the pod at Tough Cover Pod on Twitter. On today's show, we have a very special guest who was my co-host on the Sports Were Cool podcast back in the day, and the first ever co-host of the Tough Cover podcast when it first got started, Pat Moran, who you can follow at Pat Moran33. Pat, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Me and Pat are going to break down our favorite MLB futures on the board, and you guys should listen up because we were very good at this last year on the pod when we did it. And you can take these and bet them responsibly. And for more news on that, here is a word from our sponsor over at XL Media.
Hey, what's up, guys? March Madness is here. The NBA and NHL are both in full swing. Baseball opening day is coming up, while we here at the Painted Lines are devoted to bringing you top-notch content from all the major sports. We are excited to also now give you the opportunity to cash in on all that content and knowledge. If you follow the link below, you will have the opportunity to sign up with BetRivers, an online sportsbook, and get an instant new user deposit match of up to $250. That's free money that you can use and try to turn into more free money. Let's go. Don't sit there and waste all that money. Turn every basket into an otherwise meaningless Cavs-Timberwolves matchup in on a random Wednesday in March. That makes it all the more exciting. For betting tips and advice, be sure to check out written content from our top prognosticator, Money Max, on our website at thepaintedlines.com, or check out the Tough Cover podcast right here on the Painted Lines YouTube channel. You've seen the commercials all over TV and radio, but now is the time. Sign up today with BetRivers using the link below and start cashing in on your love for sports. Using the link below will automatically inform BetRivers that TPL sent you, and you'll get that new user deposit match of up to $250. Don't miss out on this opportunity for some free money, baby.
Go and check that out, and it will let them know that TPL sent you. The link is in the description if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're following along on Twitter, go and check out at the Painted Lines, and it will lead you to the website, and it'll lead you to that link. Before me and Pat get to our picks, I just want to say if you're watching along in the stream, however you're watching, leave some comments. If you have any questions for us about baseball, basketball, whatever it may be, we are people who indeed like sports, and we'll like to answer those questions or comments. So if you have anything up there on your mind, put it in the comments. We'll throw it up on the screen, and we'll give you our thoughts. And before we get into our baseball thoughts, I just want to give out my 4-pack of basketball picks for today. So I'll go a little ISO Joe Johnson here and give my 4 picks before we start breaking down some baseball. At 2:10, I have my best bet, my play of the day, my lock of the night, even though it's not at night, it's during the day. By the way, just no need to brag. My best bet is 12-7, no big deal. After a win on the Houston Cougars team total under last night. I'm sorry, Pat. Syracuse plus 6.5 didn't cash. They couldn't hit
it wasn't even close.
No. It was terrible. But the team total under did cash. That was not an offensive masterpiece last night. And this is another team total under as my best bet. I have Creighton. Team total under 72.5 for 3 units against Gonzaga. Creighton has not scored above 72 in their last 4 games in both their Big East and NCAA tournament play, and only exceeded that number once in its last 9 games. This is Creighton's first trip to the Sweet 16 in program history, and I think it will show against Gonzaga, who has only allowed 73+ in only 3 of their last 16 games and once in their last 6 games. People focus on the Gonzaga offense because they have a better effective field goal percentage than Stephen Curry's NBA career, but they can also play some defense too. If they can hold Creighton to under 38 in the first half, we are golden because they are even better in the second half on offense and defense. At 5 o'clock, I have Florida State money line versus Michigan for 2 units. Super biased here because I hate Michigan, but I think they were lucky to beat LSU, and I think the refs gave them the game. FSU's got the athletes, the length, and the depth at big to deal with Dickinson down low and to keep Hunter's Dickinson in his pants. Bolsa Kobrivica, I don't know how to say this name. Bolsa Kobrivica will be the most important player for FSU
you got it.
here. Yeah, it's close. I don't know. He's their big. He's going against Dickinson down low. He's going to need to contain him. I also need FSU to win for my bracket as well as my future from the beginning of the tournament of a 4 seed making the Final Four, and they are the only 4 seed standing. I thought Purdue would have a chance. I thought Oklahoma State would have a chance, but it's just Florida State left. I need them to survive in advance. Had a frog in my throat there. And then moving on to the next game at 7 o'clock, I have the Portland Trailblazers money line. The news just came out, so my notes on this game are irrelevant. The news just came out that Damian Lillard will be in the lineup, and Portland has been good to me all year. This is a Norm Powell revenge game, by the way. This trade just happened like days ago. But Vegas is not bought in on Portland. They seem to just have a different value on what Portland is than what I do and what the casual NBA fan does. But Lillard has won me so many close games and sweats that I owe it to him to take. If he's ever in like a close -1, -2 situation, I owe it to him to take Blazers money line over a reeling Raptors team who has to deal with locker room cancer, Kyle Lowry. No, I'm just kidding. That's me and Pat have been going back and forth on Kyle Lowry for months now. But the last pick of the night at 9:45, USC money line versus Oregon for 2 units. These teams played already, and USC out-athleted Oregon to death. They defended the hell out of Oregon's best player, Chris Duarte, and a fully healthy roster. USC won by 14 about a month ago, but that was only after Oregon won the second half by 9. USC had a 23-point halftime lead and held Oregon to 22 in the first half and 58 in the game. Oregon didn't score a point for the first 6 minutes of the game and only scored 9 points in the first 16 minutes of the game. Not saying that Oregon can't play better, especially offensively, but the gap to me looked so large. I don't think the Ducks have the bigs to deal with the Trojans, specifically Evan Mobley, and I think that sets up an awesome Gonzaga-USC Elite 8 matchup with the presumptive number 2 and number 3 pick of the NBA draft, Jalen Suggs on Gonzaga and Evan Mobley on USC. That could be a lot of fun since the number 1 pick got beat by Oregon State. I got this early in the week. I would still take -2 where it's at right now, but I have USC money line. Now, basketball's finished. We're talking baseball. Lozinski Campanella. Shout out to It's Always Sunny. We have some MLB futures. We're going to start off with player props. We killed it on this last year on the pod, so we're going to start off with player props. We're going to get to any division or NL, AL World Series futures that we may have, and then finish it off with some over/under talk. I'm sure at some point we'll have a Philly segment because as you see on Pat's hat right there, he's also 4 for 4 Philly guy. I believe the Flyers are actually his favorite team.
Oh yeah, of course. Love hockey. Always been about hockey. Can't get enough of it.
Definitely know all the players on the Flyers.
Each and every one of them.
No, I'm just joking, guys. Me and Pat both grew up together, both being huge Eagles, Phillies, Sixers fans. So we're going to talk gambling, but I'm sure if you guys are just in here to listen to the Phillies, like Chris Rakovitz here, I'm back. Let's talk Phils. I'm sure we will get to some Phillies talk at some point here. So keep it locked on here. We're going to start off with RBIs. I have three props here. So I'll get it started off. My first prop is Jose Abreu plus 1,500 to lead the league in RBIs, and it's only fitting that we start this pot off with this because last year I hit Jose Abreu plus 4,500 to win to lead the league in RBIs. So out of loyalty, I have to go back to the well, and why wouldn't I? He's led the league in this stat twice in a row, and is in a fantastic lineup, even with the Eloy injury news. So Pat, who do you have? You got any props leading the league in RBIs?
So I do not have anything for RBIs actually. I just feel like nobody stood out to me as a huge value. I do like the White Sox lineup a lot, and Jose Abreu obviously has done it in the past. But I just don't know if I could see Jose Abreu leading the league in RBIs 3 years in a row. Okay,
it's fair. It's
maybe
fair
twice,
point.
but 3 times in a row is a little steep. I don't know if he can do it. So
yeah,
he's gonna have to show me that one. Okay.
Yeah, the other two I have here are a little bit more long shots, so I'll just get them out of the way so we can move on to another stat. I have Rafael Devers plus 2,500. This is a complete homer pick since, as Pat knows, he is my longtime fantasy keeper, but he's finished 9th the last 2 years, and it felt like he had a bad year last year. I do think he has another level to his game to be an MVP candidate. Boston would probably have to improve as an offense, but most of their problems weren't offensively anyway last year. Most of them were pitching. So I can see Boston being a pretty solid offense this year and Devers being an MVP candidate. And RBIs would be a big part of that. And then my next one, I know Pat will be into this. I have Fernando Tatis plus 2,500 to lead the league in RBIs. He finished 8th last year, and I think we may have only been scratching the surface. I know he had an excellent MVP candidate season, but it's a fantastic lineup. He's the next face of baseball, and this would be a feather in the cap for an MVP conversation.
Yeah, my only concern with that one, or I guess two concerns, is I feel like the league leader in RBIs typically comes from the AL. I don't know if I can back that up, but it feels like with the DH not being in the NL this year, I would like to stay in the AL for that. And I'm not sure where Tatis is going to bat. Like if he bats second, it probably makes it a lot harder for him to lead the league in RBIs. But he could bat third. I don't really remember where he was batting last year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know where he's batting. So that it would be dependent on where he bats in the lineup. If he bats third, I could see it happening. Second, it's going to be tough. But
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it must be nice to have to figure out where you're going to bat Tatis and Machado.
It's a good problem to have for sure.
Yeah, so let's move on to the next stat here. I know you got someone for this, and I think we even have different players on the same team for this stat. But I have a prop to lead the league in hits. My prop is Tim Anderson, plus 2,000. If anyone's unaware of when I'm saying plus 2,000, that means 20 to 1, or it means if you bet $10 on it, you'd win 200. So that's a quick little. We're going to usually probably say plus 2,000 or 20 to 1. Just a little translation for you guys out there. I have Tim Anderson plus 2,000. Tim Anderson finished in 8th last year in only 49 games and figures to hit leadoff again in a lineup that you can't pitch around Tim Anderson because there's just so many guys in that lineup. I like Timmy Anderson to potentially lead the league in hits, and I actually think this is probably my favorite prop that I've seen on the board due to he only finished 11 off the lead, or 9 off the lead, missing 11 games last year. So that feels, I know 322 might not be repeatable. We were talking about this before we went on, but I think that Tim Anderson is a really solid bet at 20 to 1 to lead the league in hits.
Yeah, I think he's definitely a solid bet. I'm going to stick with a White Sox player, and I'm going to go with Nick Madrigal. He came up last year from the minors, but this guy is like a slap hitter. I think he might be like 5'5". He's like the next Jose Altuve, to be honest. Last year he played 29 games. He had 35 hits. That's a 196 hit pace over 162 games. And in his minor league career, he had 163 games played. He had 194 hits. So all this guy does is get singles and stuff. Like he's not the guy that's going to strike you out a lot, which leads to a lot of hits. And he doesn't really walk a ton either, which is actually a good thing when you're trying to lead the league in hits. So I like Nick Madrigal. He's 33 to 1. Just a little, dart throw. Obviously, don't go crazy on this bet because you don't need to bet a lot to win a lot. So Nick Madrigal, 33 to 1, a little bit of a sleeper, or maybe not, depending on who's listening. But Nick Madrigal, 33 to 1. I like him.
No, that makes a ton of sense. And I think, by the way, little Sixers news here. Gorgie Jang intends to sign with San Antonio. I was kind of hoping he'd come here and be a backup center. I don't.
It's kind of a stretch to call that Sixers news. I thought when you started saying Gorgie Jang, I thought you meant we signed him. It would be cool.
Yeah, you're right. I was hoping on Gorgie Jang. I heard
the Spurs though. Why the Spurs?
Yeah, they do have. I will say that he probably will get a lot of minutes there. I feel like they play Pirtle a lot, and they just lost Aldridge, so I guess he will get minutes there. I don't know. Maybe he's trying to recoup his value, but.
Back like the Riverwalk.
Yeah, he's really into it. He loves their New Jerseys. That's a weird. It's not where I expected him to go. But moving back to my next prop here, I have is runs. I'm not sure if you have any props to lead the league in runs, but my first one is
runs. Yep.
Okay, how many you got? Just one.
Just one. Yeah.
All right, I'll give my first two because I think the third one is your one. So I'll go Trey Turner plus 1,600 to lead the league in runs. Trey Turner finished 5 off the lead in the top 5 last year and was in the top 5 the year before. He will be in the top 5 again this year, in my opinion, if he stays healthy. So plus 1,600 feels like a really good value in a good Washington lineup that I actually expect to be better than most do. I think most people expect the Nats to come in 4th, and maybe I am a little higher on them because I think that there's a good chance either one of or both. We were talking about this yesterday. Either one of or both of Josh Bell and Kyle Schwarber, their scrap heap additions, kind of will turn into like studs because that's how it works with good organization. So I can see Trey Turner getting driven in a lot. Plus 1,600 feels like a good value, and then DJ LeMahieu at plus 1,800. This is actually one of my other favorite bets on the board here. LeMahieu finished 10 runs off the lead, missing 10 games last year. He's going to be in an incredible lineup again this year, as the Yankees always are, with a chance to score a lot of runs. So then, Pat, who you got leading the league in runs?
Yeah, so I'm just going to stick with the White Sox. Tim Anderson, 30-1 to lead the league in runs. He's going to hit leadoff for a really good lineup. He has a good chance to lead the league in plate appearances. It's a lot of the same reasons that you like him to lead the league in hits. I like him to lead the league in runs. I don't have his stats up from last year in front of me, but I would imagine he scored a lot of runs.
Yeah, so last year he scored 45 runs.
In how many games?
In 49 games, and I believe the leader
that's a ton.
Yeah, I believe that the leader was like a high or low 60s. I mean, so it's pretty close. Let me pull it up real quick.
Wow, somebody scored that many runs.
How many was it? 51. No, I'm wrong. The lead was 51, and he had 45. He actually led the AL in runs last year, Tim Anderson, in 49 games.
I expect their lineup to be even better this year. Or I guess maybe not with Eloy being out for the year, but I still think they'll have a great lineup.
No, I completely agree. I also have it down as my third prop here to lead the league in runs. So moving on to the next one. This is always a fun category. Home runs. I know Pat has got a dart throw here. I'll start off with another one. Tatis plus 2,200. Tatis finished 5 off the lead last year and has huge power. I think I could see him exploding even more so this year. We talked about that with RBIs, and I think he's a tremendous MVP candidate going into this year. And then I have Jose Abreu plus 3,000. He finished second last year behind that Paisan Luke Voigt. Luke Voigt's out, so Abreu finished in second. I'm loyal to him forever for the RBI prop. So Jose Abreu plus 3,000. Who you got to lead the league in home runs?
So this is a bit of a homer pick, but I actually think it's good value. Bryce Harper 20-1 to lead the league in home runs. I don't know if you've ever seen him hit a home run, but he doesn't hit cheapies. And I just feel like there's a season in Bryce where he's going to hit like 55 home runs if he stays healthy. His back injury last year kind of scares me, but Bryce Harper 20-1 I think is a good value. And if he stays healthy, he's going to be around high 30s to 40s with the chance to spike up to 50.
Yeah.
And then I also have a couple dart throws. Max Muncy 85-1. I believe I had this last year, and it was probably similarly handicapped. But Max Muncy 85-1. 2019 and 2018, he had 35 home runs in about 140 games. So this guy is a guy that could hit over 40 home runs pretty easily, and 85-1 is ridiculous in my opinion. And then I have a real dart throw, CJ Cron. He played for the Tigers last year. He's just like this big, he's probably like 250 pounds first baseman that just mashes homers. And now he plays baseball on the moon. So I think he has a good chance to lead the league. I mean, better than a 1% chance to lead the league in home runs, I guess is how I would put it. Obviously, chances are he's not going to do it, but I think he could easily hit 40 home runs in Coors Field. So
with Bryce hitting 13 homers last year in 58 games, 190 at-bats, what would that be around if you projected that over a full game season? Pretty close to
that's actually probably pretty low. I mean, he probably is like low 30s with that pace, but I know he came out really hot and then he had a back injury and he sort of struggled down the stretch.
Yeah, I was going to say it's close to the last 2 years before because it was 35 in his first year in Philly and 34 in his last year in Washington. So I would say that it doesn't seem like we've seen the most of Bryce Harper's power potential over the last.
Well, yeah, I mean, in his MVP season, he led the league in home runs. He had 42 home runs in 150 games, and that was before they played with like the juice baseballs that they have now. For his career, 162 game average of 33 home runs, and that includes some like just terrible years. So, in a good year, I think he paces for 40 home runs. So, I mean, Bryce Harper's good. I don't think I'm like breaking any news with that one.
Yeah. I think Bryce Harper has absolute potential to lead the league in home runs. So, do you have any other hitting props on your things? I'm actually done with hitting props.
I have two guys to lead the league in steals. They're both on my fantasy team, so maybe I'm, this is a bit of a homer pick. But Ronald Acuna plus 600. He didn't really have that many steals last year, but in 2019 he was going for a 40-40, and I think the presumptive favorite is Adalberto Mondesi, and honestly, he's such a bad hitter. He could get benched. Like he's that bad at hitting. And I think he's like minus 130. Yeah. So Ron, I see the comment in the chat. But yeah, Ronald Acuna, I think he had 37 steals in 2019, and he missed like 15 games or something. I could see him if he's close to 40-40. I think he's going to go for it. And I don't know if anyone else gets 40 steals, to be honest. And then I also have Victor Robles plus 3,300. So he's 33-1. There's rumors that he might lead off for the Nationals. And if he just has like a good season, he could run. Like obviously he's going to run if he's hitting lead off. And if he actually like can kind of hit, I feel like he has a better than a 33-1 chance to lead the league in steals. So those are my two props for steals.
Yeah, I actually really like that Robles one. I generally love Robles for fantasy. I didn't get him this year, but I really like that Robles prop. He's at 33-1.
Yeah, I want to see. I think he might have had like close to 30 steals one year, and that was probably hitting like 8th.
And folks, that's my dad in the comments there. Mark Henry 20. It's Mark Henry Senior. Old school, love steals. It's free base.
28 steals in 2019 he had, and I don't think he was hitting very high in the lineup. And he's, he has to hit better than he has hit in his career to do this, but he was a really good prospect. So it could, like, he could just like figure it out one year.
Yeah, and it's not like you need 60, 70 steals to lead the league anymore in steals.
Yeah, I think it could be 40.
No, yeah, I totally agree. That makes total sense. Do you have any other hitting props, or are you done with hitting?
No, that was it for me.
Yeah, so I only have 2 categories here for pitching props, but I have saves I only have 1 pick, and it's Brad Hand at plus 2,200. He led the league in saves for me last year. I'm not sure what the odds were last year, but he went from Cleveland to Washington, so I actually think he's in a better situation to get saves this year than he was last year. The Indians won a lot of games, so that might not be fair. He was plus 1,300 last year to lead the league in saves, led the league in saves, and is now plus 2,200. So I'll take Brad Hand on Washington, who I expect to, at the very least, be competing for a playoff spot. And I think that they've generally been pretty traditional in how they use closers, at least when Doolittle was healthy. So I think that Brad Hand will be the no doubt about it closer with the contract that he got, and will have a very long leash, and will get a lot of opportunities to lead the league in saves. Do you have any saves props?
No, I don't.
Let's move on to wins. You can start it off if you have any wins.
Yeah, so I have one for pitching wins, and it's Jacob deGrom 12-1. I mean, I know he hasn't had wins in the past, but I think that's just dumb luck. Like, I don't think there's anything that's predictive about that. I think he's the best pitcher in the MLB. He's 12-1 to lead the league in wins, and I don't think, like, you don't like the Mets as much as I do, but I think they're going to be, at least around 90 wins. And if they have 90 wins, he might have 21 of them because he might have like a 1.5 ERA. Yeah. So I think he is. And he pitches deep into games. It's just like he literally has just gotten completely unlucky like his whole career with wins. And I don't think that's really saying anything about what's going to happen going forward. So DeGrom 12-1 to lead the league in wins, I think is a good bet. But wins is a dumb stat for pitchers anyway, like for the most part.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. But I will say, yeah, I guess we should just do the conversation right now since we already talked about it a little bit there. Something me and Pat have been disagreeing on about the NL East is I think Pat thinks the Mets are either going to win the division or come in second, right?
Yeah, I definitely think it's them and the Braves that are the best, most talented 2 teams. I mean, I get it that shit always goes wrong for the Mets, but I think they're extremely talented, and I don't know. I think they win 90 games this year.
I guess I just think that rotation's being really overrated. I know DeGrom's the best pitcher in the world. I'm not arguing that, but besides DeGrom, you look at the other guys. It's like Syndergaard's not coming back till May. Carrasco's not coming back till late April, early May. David Peterson's like, I don't know if that guy's. I'm not counting on him to be like a legitimate number 2 or number 3 starter. I think Stroman, I feel like Stroman was kind of counted out for a little bit there. Like I feel like at one point Marcus Stroman kind of came and went, and then he had a little bit of a resurgence, and obviously was pretty good last year, I think. But I could 100% see Marcus Stroman going back to not being what he was last year. And then I know that they signed Taijuan Walker too, so they do have some depth there. But I think what most people are focusing on with the Mets and why they're going to be one of those first 2 teams is the signings that they made in the offseason, and then their pitching rotation. And I think Lindor is really the only signing that they made in the offseason that's really like insanely earth shifting. And I think that'll be enough. In the full season last year, they would have won 70 games. I think that the moves they made would get them to 85 this year. So I have them winning 85 games. DeGrom could 100% lead the league in wins, even with the Nets winning 85 games. So I think that the Mets are being a little overrated. I think that they come in fourth place, as I've said on here a couple times, which might feel crazy, but it's not like I feel is finishing one win ahead in third place. So.
Yeah, I guess I would just – it hurts that Carrasco looks like he's kind of hurt right now. But, I mean, I don't know. The Phillies don't exactly have a deep rotation, and I think I like the Mets bullpen and their lineup better than the Phillies. So
I don't like their lineup.
I really like their lineup.
I like our lineup.
I like our lineup too. But I just think the Mets have like a top 5 lineup in the MLB possibly.
I think we're right there too. I think statistically we were even there last year.
No, yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. Pete Alonso and Dominic Smith, like with having them both every day, I'm looking at it now. Like obviously Lindor, Conforto is really good. Jeff McNeil is going to hit 300. I mean, they have they don't have like a bunch of stud superstars, but like everyone in their lineup's a above average hitter.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I guess I'm just saying in terms of looking at the lineups, I like the Phillies more because I've seen them all do it collectively together. Last year, like that lineup was good enough to be a division-winning lineup or a playoff lineup.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like Didi Gregorius would be like the Mets' worst hitter, which is like kind of.
I think he's like our fifth. I think he's like our 5th best hitter though. So, and I think our top 4 is just way stronger personally with Bryce, JT. It also depends on how high you are on Bohm and how high you are on Hoskins. So they are a little. I get that, and I'm sure you could say the same thing about Alonso. I do know Alonso wasn't like fantastic last year.
I mean, I feel like Alonso, he's just like a slightly better. I mean, it depends. He's probably a little better than Rhys Hoskins, though. I would think, just as a power hitter. But Hoskins walks a lot. I mean, I don't know. I would take Alonso though. I think because he had like 55 home runs. But whatever, it doesn't matter. I mean, I like the Mets. We'll see what happens. I hope they suck. Like I want them to win 85 games, but
I'm gonna clip you saying I like the Mets there and just use it as a drop. Pat Moran, noted Mets fan over there. No, I'm just joking. I have four props to lead the league in wins here. So if it's DeGrom, that means I wasted 4 picks here. But whatever. I'm going Yu Darvish plus 130 or plus 1,300. If I bet someone plus 130 in this, that'd be wild. But Yu Darvish plus 1,300. He led the league in wins last year and is on an even better team than the San Diego Padres. By the way, this is just one of those moves that like when it happened, I kind of missed it. Like I heard the Yu Darvish news. Like I heard about it like 2 or 3 weeks after it happened, and I was like, oh, I guess.
Well, I think it happened. I think it happened right after they traded for Blake Snell. So it was like they made the big move, and then it was like, oh yeah, and they got Yu Darvish too, and they're both probably. I mean, they're probably on equal footing in terms of like who's the better pitcher, but I feel like Blake Snell's the bigger name just because he had that World Series moment. Like, but
Darvish was better last year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but I feel like they're pretty equal. But yeah. I mean, the Padres are insane. It's crazy.
It is. It really is.
And they're still not going to win their division either. That's the funny part.
They're going to have to play a 1-game playoff to get into the playoffs, and they're probably going to win like 98 games.
Yeah.
And then another team that I like to win a lot of games, I'm sure Pat does too. The Atlanta Braves. I like Max Fried, who's their opening day starter, plus 2,200. Max Fried went 7-0 last year again, so he should just do that again. He should go undefeated, and he'll bang it out. He'll lead the league. I don't know why everyone doesn't just go undefeated. It seems like that'd be a pretty good strategy to be a winning pitcher, but I don't think he'll go undefeated again. But it'll be a 162 game season. It's a bigger sample size, which could hurt him obviously. But I think Atlanta is one of the in terms of, I know the NL East is crazy, so I guess this might be wrong, but I think they're one of the safest teams to like. There's like no way I can see Atlanta winning below like 85 games.
Yeah, I mean they're extremely talented and their lineup's really good. I wish that we were. It just sucks that the NL East is as good as it is because I do think the Phillies have a good team, but I think that they're hoping that they get the second wild card spot, and you have to finish second in the NL East to do that because. the Padres are one of the wild card spots. So
Yeah, no, we've been talking about that all week when I had Alex on, when I had Dylan on, and it's just like, why can't we be in the Central? And we'll talk about that when we talk about the Cardinals in a little bit. But it's the NL Central, man. That's the place to be if you're in the NL trying to make the playoffs. But moving on to the AL Central here, I have a pick from the AL Central on the wins. Lance Lynn plus 2,200. Lance Lynn's a workhorse going to a great team. He won 6 games last year. He won a bunch of games 2 years ago. I think Lance Lynn is going to be an absolute godsend for the White Sox. I think that rotation is low-key going to be one of the best in baseball. I know Pat's not as big on Dallas Keuchel as I am, but Dallas Keuchel as the number 3 starter is a lot different than Dallas Keuchel as the number 2 starter. So I think the White Sox have a great rotation, and I think Lance Lynn will be a huge part of that, and hopefully leads the league in wins here.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good bet. I don't have it, but I think it's good. But I like Lance Lynn a lot.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're a fan. You liked the pick yesterday when someone took him. Then my next pick would be Hyunjin Ryu at plus 3,500. He's had 2 phenomenal back-to-back seasons, and I think he came in second in Cy Young 2 years ago, and is underrated in my opinion. And I think Toronto is going to be awesome this year and dangerous. So I'm sure we'll talk about that in my over/under section. But I think Hyunjin Ryu has an excellent chance to have a great year and win a lot of games with Toronto with a way better offense.
Yeah. It seems like the only thing with him is always health. It's just like, can he stay healthy? But yeah, he's unreal when he pitches.
Yeah. So do you have any other pitching props, or should we get to awards?
No, I don't have any other pitching props.
All right, you got an NL MVP pick for me?
No, I actually don't, because I was looking at it and there's just so many good players in the NL, and they're all sitting around the same, odds. Like it's like all between like 8 and 12 to 1. There's like 10 guys that I think could easily win it, and I just don't think I'm going to guess right on which one it is.
Yeah,
I think Juan Soto is like plus 750, and I feel like he's a safe bet because he's probably going to be in the top 5 if he stays healthy. But no, I didn't really find anybody that I thought was good value, to be honest.
So this would be a crazy scenario, by the way. If someone put a gun to your head and said, give me the NL MVP prop that I have to bet on, and I'm going to hold this gun to your head until the NL MVP is announced, you would take Juan Soto?
Yeah, I think so. 7. I just think if he plays as well as he played last year for a full season, he's like going to be known as like the best hitter in baseball, and he's 22 years old or whatever.
Ted Williams.
Yeah, he's left. Yeah, he's Ted Williams.
It's ridiculous how good he is,
and he's not on the Phillies.
Yeah, he's in the division for sure. Yeah, my NL MVP pick, Homer, calling me out for it, is Bryce Harper, plus 1,500. Like Pat said, there's so many players in the NL. Just top of my head here. Acuna, Soto, Freeman, Tatis, Mookie Betts, Cody Bellinger, Manny Machado, Nolan Arenado, Christian Yelich. There's so many insanely good players in the NL right now. I'll say it, a lot of good baseball players.
Yeah.
I don't want to get overboard.
It's like especially in the NL. It's crazy. I mean, there's a lot of good players in the NL, but like all of the elite players besides Trout, it seems like, are in the NL.
Yeah. So I just thought Bryce was the best player at like a value.
And there's even like Christian Yelich you didn't even mention. I think he's like.
I did say Yelich.
Oh well, I'm wrong.
But I don't think. Yeah, I wouldn't take Yelich to an MVP because I'm not personally that high on Milwaukee. But if you're high on Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff, then you probably think Milwaukee's going to be really good.
I don't think it's really too much of a team award for like the MVP.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like it helps if your team's good, but like if you just have like a crazy season, you're still going to get it in baseball. It's all about like they just say it's all about like who's the best player, which I think I agree with. But
yeah, my dad says Soto is the best player in the NL. Would you agree with that?
He's definitely the best hitter. I don't know if he's the best player. I would probably still say Mookie Betts is the best player, but
yeah, I'd agree.
He's definitely the best hitter in the NL, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree.
He might be better than Trout as a hitter, but like I'd have to see it again for another year. But yeah, he's unreal.
He's just way worse in the field than those guys, is what you're saying. So you would.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Mookie's got an absolute cannon for an arm, so it makes total sense. Who's your AL MVP pick?
So AL MVP, I kind of liked like Mike Trout. It sounds ridiculous, but he's plus 225, and I honestly feel like you're not going to feel stupid if you bet that. Like he's going to be in the top 3. And I don't know if anyone else really jumped off the page to me. Tim Anderson and Jose Abreu are both 25 to 1. And I think they could both have really good seasons, and the White Sox could be like the story of the AL. So that could be like a narrative award, and 25-1 is worth a shot. So I think I like Tim Anderson out of the two. I think I like Tim Anderson more, but it sounds like Mark likes Jose Abreu to like lead the league in everything. So I guess Jose Abreu 25-1 is a great bet to Mark.
Yeah, that's my pick. I had Jose Abreu to win the AL MVP.
And then
won it last year. So
I just had an observation with going through the odds. It's like Trout's plus 225, Rendon's 15-1, and Ohtani's 20-1, and the Angels still aren't good. Like it's crazy.
They need pitching so bad. I really thought that they would go get Bauer or someone like that this offseason, and they just didn't do it. They were like, nope, who needs pitching?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like you have like if you like the Angels, you just are like, yeah, I believe in Dylan Bundy, like, which I guess some people might, but I don't.
Griffin Canning. I don't even know if he's there anymore. But the Cy Young bets. So I have two picks for the Cy Young here, but I actually kind of feel the same way about the Cy Young bets that you did about NL MVP. I just couldn't find anything that was like a crazy value that I like couldn't wait to bet on. But I do have, if I, like a gun to my head situation, I have two picks here. Who you got? Yeah.
So I have one for the NL, and I didn't really see anything in the AL that jumped out to me. But DeGrom plus 425, it's like almost the same thing as Trout. I just think he's going to be in the conversation. And I think 425 actually seems really high to me. So DeGrom plus 425 is a bet that I actually made. So
that's
that a lot.
Yeah, I took Yu Darvish. Or I actually don't think I'll bet this, but Yu Darvish would be my pick going to San Diego. San Diego's a great pitcher's park, and I think he looked so dominant last year in the Cubs, and I think he'll get even more run support, and that'll just I think he'll just be unbelievable in San Diego, just because why wouldn't he be? Because the Padres are incredible. So I think Yu Darvish. So I guess that's also why I prefer Yu Darvish to Snell a little bit. He was my pick to win Cy Young, but and then my AL Cy Young pick is Hyunjin Ryu, who I was talking about when we were talking about wins. I think Toronto is going to be excellent. I think he's going to be a big part of the reason why I think he's going to be the ace. And I do think that could be a bit of a narrative award as well, where he's the ace of a team that kind of turns it around. And I guess they made the playoffs last year, but I like Hyunjin Ryu a lot more than the odds seem to.
Yeah, so I'm looking at DeGrom. 2018, he won the Cy Young. 2019, he won the Cy Young, and last year he came in third. And he's already thrown 102 in spring training. Like he seems like he just throws like a mile or two an hour faster every year. It doesn't make any sense, but he keeps doing it. So I think DeGrom's a good, solid bet.
Do you have any? If you had to pick an AL Cy Young award winner, who are you going with?
So I think it was like Cole was plus 350 and Bieber was like plus 400. But I guess maybe I would go to Giolito, and I don't know what his odds really were, but they didn't jump out to me. So
yeah, I think they were like somewhere between like plus 500, plus 800, like somewhere in that range. Like not crazy, but not like a huge value or anything like that. So let's talk some over-unders. Do you have NL, AL props or World Series, anything like division props?
I have a couple division winner props.
All right,
yeah, so NL Central, I really like the Cardinals as the favorite, but the Brewers being plus 300 just seemed kind of crazy to me. I think Yelich won't be as bad as he was last year, and that team was right in the thick of it the year before for the division. And they do have two really solid starters. Beyond that, I don't really know, but I don't think there's any team in the AL or NL Central that's like perfect. Like we were saying, like they could really beat up on the Pirates, and the Cubs aren't really trying that hard this year. I mean, the Cubs should be solid, but the Reds and the Pirates are like they could easily lose like 90 games each. I mean, the Pirates will definitely lose 90 games, but Pirates will probably lose 100 games. But yeah, so the Brewers plus 300, I just felt like they should be more like plus 200. So I like that bet. And then for the AL East, I have the Rays plus 350. I don't know why the Rays are continuously slept on. I think they could like throw me out there and I could give them like league average performance. It's just you never hear these guys. It's like guys you've never heard of, and they're just like going off. Like they lost Blake Snell. Who else did they lose? I think they only lost
Charlie
Blake Snell
Morton.
really from Charlie Morton. He was like not
He
even
was
that
bad
good last year.
Yeah, he was bad.
Charlie Morton was didn't help them in the regular season at least. So Rays plus 350. Like I said, I think I could throw 4 solid innings for them.
I think the Rays thing more than anything has to do with I think they were a little bit better than they were last. I think it was a little bit of I think there's a little bit regression due in terms of they were supposed to win they
were gonna win 110 games probably but they won 96 the year before.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I think they're going to win 86 games. So I think they take a step back, but it's not a crazy step back. I think the big reason those odds are where they are is because I think the Blue Jays got a ton better, and I think the Yankees are just always going to be that public team. They're probably minus 200 to win that division. The Yankees.
Yeah, I think it might have literally been minus 200, but
that's just a guess.
Yeah, I guess I just don't see them falling back to 86 wins when they won 96. Is Blake Snell Kershaw in 2004? I don't know. They lost Blake Snell. He pitched 5 innings a game last year for them, and I don't even think he had a good year.
I think it's just more
so with Charlie Morton.
I think it's just regression combined with losing those guys, and then combined with the division getting better. And hopefully, you think Boston's probably going to be a little better than they were last year. At least I think they were supposed to be the 60s over a full season. But that's just. But I have a very similar bet here, even though I'm going against one of your picks with the Brewers. I have a similar bet to what your thoughts are with the Rays, just how great of an organization they are, and I completely understand that point. I actually have 2 bets that are very similar. First of all, I want to put this comment. Go Pat! You still have fire left. I know that the reason he said that is because me and my dad talked about the Rays the other day. And he didn't understand why people were sleeping on the Rays because they're just such a good organization. And
I didn't even mention Wander Franco, who I think could be their best hitter this year.
And the Rosarena.
Yeah, and they have a full season of a Rosarena. I mean, whatever. Yeah, he could if he's who he was last year in the playoffs, which is the best player in baseball. I think they plus 350 just seems really high for them for a team that made the World Series last year and they won their division, right? Or did they not win?
Yeah, no, they did.
I mean, plus 350 just seems really high to me. I think they have avenues to be better than they were last year. They could definitely be worse. I don't know. They're not going to win. I guess no, they're not going to win 112 games or whatever their pace was. But I think they could flirt with 100 wins easily.
Yeah. So, like I said, the Rays are a great organization. So I went with a similarly great organization here with the St. Louis Cardinals to win the NL Central. At plus 115 for 2 units. I actually bet this already, but I think that the Cardinals are just such a great organization. I think they got Nolan Arenado for absolutely nothing in terms of giving up something to compete this year. They haven't really lost much. I know they lost Colton Wong, but that's really the only player they lost this year. I just think Flaherty coming off a bad year last year, and a lot of their pitchers coming off bad years. They had a massive COVID break that really derailed their season, and they had a long losing streak after, and they still were on pace. I think they were on pace to win 86 games last year. I know that it's their over-under is 86.5 this year. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that, but I just think that division, like you said, the Pirates and the Reds are going to be so bad. I think the Cubs, there's a chance where they start making trades if they don't start off positively. So it's really going to be a competition between the Cardinals and the Brewers, and I'm always going to buy into the Cardinals over the Brewers if the teams are somewhat close because of how good the Cardinals have been historically and as an organization. And I think that Nolan Aaron, it seems like when the Cardinals make that big move a couple years ago and they added Goldschmidt, it took them up another level, it felt like. And I think adding Nolan Arenado was actually going to put them in that Atlanta, LA Dodgers, San Diego tier that I know you probably don't think that. And most people don't think that. I think that St. Louis will get there this year, whether that be because of Arenado or be because of arms or outfielders that they find falling off the tree in their farm system. That they can plug in to be great right away because that's what they seem to do every year. And I also, to finish that point, I also have St. Louis plus 1,200 to win the NL just because I thought that was crazy value, plus 1,200 because I do think that I'm so confident that they make the playoffs. Plus 1,200 would be a good value for any team that made the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, I like the Cardinals a lot. I definitely would have them as the favorites over the Brewers. I just think it's a little bit too much. I just think it's too much of a favorite. Plus 115, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like value to me. But I do have their over for regular season wins, and so I obviously like them. I think they win 90 games, but I think the Brewers could like spike and win 92 games or something. Pretty
So
easily.
do you have any other props, or you just want to get to over-unders?
Let's just get to over-unders.
All right, so let's just start off with that. You just mentioned it right there with the Cardinals. That's probably my favorite over-under on the board at 86.5.
Yeah, so what I wrote down for this is just they went over it in 2019 and 2018, and they now have Nolan Arenado, who's a better player than they've had since Albert Pujols. They haven't had a player that good since Albert Pujols, and
absolutely,
and now they do. And they're always above 500. Everything could go wrong, as you said, and they'll probably still win 84 games. So I definitely think over 86.5 jumped off the page to me as I think they'll win 87 games. For sure.
Yeah. Another one that I like, I guess we'll just stay in the NL first. Another one I really like to stick with overs and to stick with positivity is Phillies over 81.5. 81.5 feels really low. They would have been around 76 last year. They won, I think, 80 or 81 2 years ago with Gabe. Was it 81 the last year Gabe Kapler got fired? I think they won.
I don't know. Yeah,
I think they won 500. Exactly.
I think we might have. We literally have been mediocre for 3 years in a row, which is a huge improvement over what we were for the previous 6 or whatever.
Yeah, so I think over 81.5. All you need there is the 22nd best bullpen in baseball to get to that number. And I have them winning 86 games. And yesterday when I asked you your first thought on how many games you thought they'd win, you thought it'd be 86. So we're in the same boat on how many games you think they'd win. What do you think of that over?
I like it. I saw it was minus 143, so it was really juiced up. So I didn't bet it, but I do like it a lot. I do have the Phillies plus 285 to make the playoffs. I think that's pretty good value. I think if they come in second in the NL East, they make the playoffs. I think it really comes down to that.
Agreed.
And if the bullpen was league average last year, I think that the team would be a playoff team. So if we can just get to league average bullpen, I think we have a decent shot to make the playoffs. Now it's kind of there's kind of a wide gap between what we were last year in league average, but hopefully we can just make that happen. I don't know.
I wanted to pitch this to you real quick because I've been talking about it all week. This is the guy I'm kind of high on after doing minimal research. What do you think of Chase Anderson in the back end of the Phillies rotation? I think there's a good chance he could get back to what he was in Milwaukee for 4 straight years because he only really had one bad year on such limited innings. I think people are kind of writing him off a little fast.
Yeah, I think he's a solid number 5 or number 4 starter. I think a lot of teams have pitchers that just aren't very good in those spots. So I think he's pretty much league average in terms of the role that we have him in and where he should be. So I think it was a solid signing. And Matt Moore honestly looked pretty decent too. So we do have a little bit of depth. I think they could try out Spencer Howard in the bullpen and maybe he can find a role there. And I don't know. I hope I don't have to see Vinny Velasquez start any more games for the Phillies, but he's inevitably going to end up on the Phillies wall of fame in fucking Ashburn Alley because he's been on the Phillies for 15 years. It's gonna end up passing Steve Carlton's franchise numbers, and I can't stand watching that guy pitch. But
Vinny Velo,
I sure have done a lot of it for something I can't stand.
No, I'm in the same boat. I guess my point is I feel there's more excitement on Phillies Twitter about Matt Moore than there is about Chase Anderson, it seems to me, or even Spencer Howard. That don't make sense, obviously. But I think there's more excitement about Matt Moore than Chase Anderson. And I think that Chase Anderson, I guess it's because Matt Moore went to Japan, so there's this idea that he's going to come down, he's going to come back and be Miles Michaelis from a couple of years ago where he was a Cy Young candidate. So I guess people have those hopes. But for me, Chase Anderson was just so solid. Even for 4 years in Milwaukee and even for 3 years in Arizona, he was so solid for 7 straight years. So I just think that there's a good chance he could be that again.
Well, I think the thing with Matt Moore is it's nice that we have a left-handed starting pitcher. We just haven't had that in 3 years. It's kind of crazy, and we don't develop pitching. I don't know. There's a lot of problems with the Phillies, but
I could be wrong about this stat. I'm pretty sure the last lefty that started was Cole Hamels.
I don't know if that's true, but it's certainly there's nobody of note. There's nobody that should be remembered.
Smiley's the lefty, I think.
Yeah, we had him.
Maybe it's multiple. I don't know what the stat was.
I think there was a game that JoJo Romero started, and it was the stat was like we haven't had a left-handed pitcher start a game it was like 2 full seasons before that. And then I think we've had Smiley since then, but we haven't had like an actual like rotation regular be a left-handed pitcher since like in several years, which is like usually you'd want at least 2. You'd want like 2 left-handed pitchers in your rotation.
Yeah.
But whatever.
A couple comments here. VV is a killer, but slow down with Carlton.
I'm not comparing. Not making a comparison. He's just going to pitch 30 seasons in Philly's uniform, and he's going to have every record.
And then Chris Rakovitz, who you going after first in fantasy baseball, and who you keeping? If you're just saying, if you're in a, I guess this is like a fun conversation. If you're in a fantasy baseball draft and you have the first pick, I think in years past that's just been you take Mike Trout or you take There's usually a number one guy. It seems like Mookie Betts is the top ranked guy, but I'd say you could make a legitimate case for six people to be this pick, and I think it's Mookie Betts, Ronald Acuna, Fernando Tatis, Juan Soto, Mike Trout, and Trey Turner. I think all have a good argument.
Right. It's like I feel like this year the pick to have would be like the 6th pick because you just get whoever fell out of that. Yeah, I mean, I think if I was picking first, I'd probably go with Acuna just because if you're like worried about steals, he's going to probably get the most of them, like out of the top guys. And Tatis, I don't know. I feel like he's a little more volatile. Like he's just very I don't want to say injury prone, but he plays a style that he picks up a lot of injuries.
So I would actually agree. I would say Acuna first. If I had first pick, I think I would go Acuna. If it's any, I would probably put Tatis like 6th actually, even though I talk really positively about him all podcast. Just because it is a little. We've seen it a little less from him. So I would put Acuna first. I would personally. This might be unpopular. I would put Mike Trout second. Just because I think he's this. When you're picking this high, sometimes you just got to lock in like the safest possible pick, and you're just so positive he's going to finish in the top 10 to 15.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean
that's what. Yeah, I did. I picked him over Mookie yesterday for that reason.
Yeah.
And then
should I even say who my keepers are?
Yeah. Listen to Pat's keepers in a long time fantasy baseball keeper league.
So my keepers are Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto, and Fernando Tatis Jr. So I have 3 of that group of players. So but I would say Acuna probably first and maybe Mookie second if I was actually like in a redraft league. But you can't go wrong with any of those guys. So
no, you can't. And just for reference, guys, my keepers are like I would say my keepers are like in the middle for the league, like probably right in the middle. I have Aaron Judge really late, Rafael Devers pretty late, and Kyle Tucker pretty late. Those are pretty good keepers. They're all in the top 40. Pats are all in the top 6, so there's levels to it. It's a little frustrating. But I did get Mike Trout, so I am happy. But getting back on track to the over discussion that we were having, so we can finish this up before we get to an hour. This is by far the longest Tough Cover podcast so far. So thanks to Pat for joining us for this long. But we're going to keep going on the NL real quick. I'm trying to see if there's another over I like or if I'm moving on to unders. I guess my favorite under that I'm seeing on the board, we've already talked about it at length, the New York Mets under 91.5 wins. I have them winning 85 games just because my points about the rotation from earlier. I won't waste too much time talking about it since we already did at length. And then my last over or under in the NL would be Atlanta over 91.5, just because, like I said earlier, I feel like their upside is just – they're not upside. Their downside is like 85 wins, so 91.5 seems low. So
yeah, and I think – so I only had one other over-under, and it's we already kind of talked about it, but the Rays over 85.5, I just think that number is way off. I feel like they're a 90-win team. They just like roll out of bed with 90 wins. So – I think over 85.5. I think I like that even more than the Cardinals over 86.5. So Rays over 85.5. It's they won 96 in 2019 and 90 in 2018. They won 40 games last year in a 60-game season, and they have like there's ways that team could be better than it was last year, at least on offense. Pitching is a concern, but they just they'll throw guys out there for 3 innings to start a game, and then they'll have like a bullpen day 3 times a week, and they just scrap it together. Like no matter what, I feel like starting pitching is like not as important to them as it is for other teams, I guess is how I'll put it.
Yeah, but I'm sticking in that division, moving to the AL now with an over. I have the Toronto Blue Jays or Buffalo, wherever they're playing this year, over 86 wins. I have them winning 92 games. They would have won 86 last year. I think that Vlad, Biggio, and Bichette all have obviously huge breakout potential. So if one of them breaks out, you obviously have like a star on that team. You also just added Marcus Semien and George Springer, who I think are two pretty. Pat informed me right before the podcast that Springer's hurt. He might start the year on the IL, but I still think he'll be back relatively soon. And I think that Marcus Semien and George Springer will be big additions to Toronto. Like I said before, I think Hyunjin Ryu is a legitimate ace. And then it's like we're talking about the Rays. It's going to depend on their pitching, but it's less important to them, in your opinion. To me, the Blue Jays, it doesn't look like they have that solid 2 through 5 behind Ryu. Am I saying that right? Hyunjin Ryu? I'm saying that right? I don't know. Who knows? It's just going to depend on who the 2 through 5 is, because I think they have a couple options here with Nate Pearson, Robbie Ray, Ross Stripling, Tanner Roark, Tommy Malone, Steven Matz. None of them are knocking the socks off of you, but that's all they're all options in terms of they all will start in the MLB this year, I think. So
yeah. Yeah, I would say besides Nate Pearson, all of those names sound like 4 or 5 starters to me.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think that might be all they need to be with how good I think their offense is going to be and how good Ryu will be, I think.
Their lineup is definitely insane, for sure.
Yeah, I have Blue Jays over, and then another over that I really, really like. Let me pull down and find it. This is crazy. I don't know how I've talked myself this hard into this, but I haven't bet it yet. I'm going to bet it hard after this podcast. The Kansas City Royals over 73.5 wins. I think they win 81 games. I just think you look at their lineup. You just look at by position.
Let's look at it. I haven't, I'll be honest.
Salvador Perez, Carlos Santana, Brian Dozier, Alberto Mondesi. I know you're not a fan of his. He does.
Wait, Brian Dozier? I thought. Did you say Brian Dozier?
Or my bad, Hunter Dozier.
Okay, they do have a Dozier. Okay.
Dan Johnson brought up Brian Dozier yesterday, and it confused me. Andrew Benintendi, Michael Taylor, guy I always kind of like. Whit Merrifield, and then Jorge Soler is a really solid lineup. I think you look at Perez, Mondesi, Merrifield, and Soler. That's 4 really solid players. And then you add Benintendi and Santana to that. And those guys are obviously they picked them up for a song and a dance there. They picked them up off the scrap heap. But I think that those guys both have pretty high upside in terms of being able to help the team. And Santana just has to get back to what he did for 5 straight years besides the years in Philadelphia. And then I think I don't know, Keller, Duffy, Singer, and Bubich are all kind of similar to me. I feel like they all are number 3 starters. I think they all could be decent. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little too.
You might be optimistic.
And then I think Mike Minor as a 5th addition. He's he could be good as he was 2 years ago, and just be a nice 5th starter on that team.
Yeah, that is, I guess, better than I thought. To be honest, I didn't really give them a ton of thought. So what, it was 73.5, you said?
Yeah, I didn't give them a ton of. They were on pace to win 70 last year. I didn't give them a ton of thought in general either. And then I looked at their roster, and I was floored by I guess it's not insane or anything, but
their lineup is definitely better than I realized. I think.
Yeah. I was really, and I guess I'm a little higher than on all these. I kind of like Singer. I kind of like Keller and Duffy. I feel if they were guys that the Phillies picked up as their 4th starter, I feel I'd be really excited.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and it's not really that good of a division, so.
Yeah, it's not. That's another. I should have mentioned that. That's another good point. And then I guess my last over would be the White Sox over 90.5. We've talked a lot about them. We've talked about 10 of their players at this point.
Yeah.
Over 90.5. They win 96 games. I think that I lost my words there, but the Lance Lynn and the Liam Hendricks pickups are going to be big for their rotation and their bullpen, and that'll take off the sting of adding a Hall of Famer baseball person in Tony La Russa and Eloy Jimenez getting hurt.
Yeah, I don't know. That could be a terrible situation. I mean, Tim Anderson might get benched the first time he does a bat flip, and that could derail a lot of these bets. So, yeah, Tony La Russa, that was a great hire. Anytime you can hire a 75-year-old habitual drunk driver, you have to do it. So. And then to manage a fun young baseball team that has a lot of personality. Yeah, let's get Tony La Russa in there.
It's the worst. I think this comment is in regards to the Blue Jays when I was talking about, I guess they're starting in Tampa or wherever in Florida. One more over, actually, because I didn't see this on my list. The Oakland A's over 86.5. I think that's another one that kind of goes in the same bin as the Rays conversation we had, where the A's just seem to win more than they're expected to win every year. They're never expected to win their division, and they always seem to figure out a way to do it, or at least to get a wild card spot. Last year they would have been on pace to win 97 games, and this year they're over under 86.5. I have them at 92. They lost Matt Chapman for the whole second half of last year. I think that their rotation is incredibly young and exciting and fun. Jesus Luzardo could really, I think, have a breakout season where he becomes maybe a possible ace. I do think he's going to be an ace in the next couple of years. Luzardo, his stuff is just so good. So I think it's a point of when, not if, really, with Luzardo. And I know we were talking about a lot of other AJ Puck or Puke, however you say his name. Probably Puck. I can't imagine his last name's Puke, but Chris Bassett was really good for the A's last year. Frankie Montas is obviously a guy who has been good before. So I just think that the A's are undervalued, as they always are. People probably expect the Angels to compete in that division, and I really think it's an A's Astros race.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think I didn't have it, but maybe I will bet that. I do like that.
Yeah, I just think I don't really get why the Astros are the favorite. They're at 87.5. The A's are 86.5. I actually should take a look at the AL West odds there. I wonder what the odds for the A's to win the AL West. But I might honestly even like that over/under more, because they could win over 86.5 and make the playoffs without winning the wild card, I think. But I think they lost. Who did Oakland lose? They lost Hendricks. That's really, off the top of my head, Semien. They lost Marcus Semien and Liam Hendricks. Those are really big losses. And Houston lost Springer, and Houston lost. I think they lost an arm. It's not coming to my brain who they lost. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Framber Valdez might be out for the year, I think.
Yeah, maybe that's
what
what
you're thinking of. And obviously Verlander's still kind of out. I don't know about Osuna. Yeah, probably, because didn't he get Tommy John in the summer? So.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, it feels like Houston lost more than Oakland to me, and Houston lost more than Oakland. They were on pace to win 78. Oakland was on pace to win 97, and they're still projected as the over/under. Yeah, I'm talking myself really hard into this, actually. I really like the A's now that I'm sitting here talking about it. Matt Chapman should be back healthy for opening day, I'm pretty sure I saw. So I have the A's winning 92 games. I have the Astros winning 91 games. So it's not like I hate the Astros or anything. I have the Astros over their win total as well, just not as resoundingly as the A's. And I wouldn't bet on the Astros to go over that win total. It's just, if I had to guess, it would be 91. I did have them getting the wild card, but I like the A's a lot this year.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, I think that pretty much wraps it up. I'm sure I'll try to collect. Pat can send me his props, and I'll try to put my props on a note sheet, and we'll send them both out. I do want to read off my basketball picks in case anyone joined the stream late or watched the video late or skip past it, whatever. Team total, Creighton under 72.5. I actually think while we've done this podcast, I've seen that that's went up to 73. So I guess I'm an idiot, but Florida State money line versus Michigan for 2 units. That Creighton team total is my best bet for 3 units, by the way. Portland Blazers money line for 2 units, and USC money line for 2 units. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for being part of the Tough Cover Click. We were here talking baseball. I'm sure we'll have Pat on another time throughout the year. Pat's always welcome on as the original Tough Cover Pod co-host. And I'm sure when football season comes back around or NFL draft season comes back around, we'll be talking Eagles too. So might as well. We should put this out there. I know the Party on Broad guys at the Painted Lines would love to see this, because Pat Moran's right along their line of thinking. I think. What do you think of the Eagles trade back before we get out of here?
So I think in a vacuum, it was a good value trade, and this team has a lot of holes. Obviously we would have loved to have Chase or Pitts or Devontae Smith at 6, and maybe we can still get one of them at 12. I mean, I get it. It's probably pretty unlikely, but I think it's a fine trade in a vacuum. The problem is that I don't have confidence in Howie Roseman to make the picks correctly. So, he probably couldn't have fucked up the pick at 6 as easily as he might fuck up the pick at 12. And then, we don't really know what the pick's going to be next year, but why would we be confident that he's going to make the right pick next year? Now that being said, ideally, maybe we suck really bad this year and Howie Roseman gets fired, and then it's someone else making that pick. I think overall, I think it was like a pretty good trade. To move back from 6 to 12 and pick up a first-round pick for a team that probably needs to undergo a huge rebuild at some point as we get older, and every year we wonder why there's so many injuries. It's like I see the downside of it, but then at the same time, I think like overall we just need to like get as many good players as we possibly can. But it sucks for Jalen Hurts. He had a chance to add Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase to this offense and give Hurts a chance to succeed. And I feel like he just like decided, well, we'll see. We'll see if Hurts can do it with this like ragtag cast that we had last year. And it's going to set him up to fail. And then he gets to take another quarterback in the following year. And it's like, well, why did you take Jalen Hurts in the second round? Like, you acted like you wanted to see if he could develop. And it's clear that you're not trying to like, maybe he's made a decision on Jalen Hurts already after last year. And I don't know how you could make a decision that he's not the guy after last year, but apparently that might be what Howie Roseman did. So
yeah, two things in response to what you said. The first thing, Jalen Hurts is probably upset that they're not going to get one of those top guys, maybe, but he also is probably happy that they didn't trade for Zach Wilson, as the reports had it, that we were trying to move up to trade for pick number 3 and Zach Wilson, which is I'm not a huge fan of this trade back, but as we were saying when it happened, we were both way happier with trading back than we would have been if we would have traded up to 3 for Zach Wilson. So I have gotten a little distance from the trade. I'm a little less angry about it. I understand where they're coming from with it. I do think I have a couple downsides here that I don't think people have really brought up. I don't think moving from 6 to 12 only should cost a first-round pick. Like, we went up from like 156 to 123 this year in the draft, which doesn't mean much to me. Unless they draft Jalen Darden, then it means everything to me because they need Jalen Darden on the Eagles. But that's just a random North Texas receiver. I had to drop the name up there. But I think that probably should have been like a first and a third that we picked up for next year. If they would have picked up like a first and a third or a first and a fourth with just giving up the 6th pick, I would have been like, fine, great deal, fantastic. I would have been all in. But I do think you should pick up a little bit more for moving 6 picks out of the top 6 of the draft. But then the other reason I don't really love it is because I think that Miami has a really clear cap on how bad they can be. I think we saw it 2 years ago when they had Josh Rosen throwing like for 8 for 19 for 80 yards, and they won like 5 games and like picked 6th. So I feel like that's really like the absolute floor of where the pick can be, and I just don't think that roster is anywhere near where it was 2 years ago. So I think more than likely this will be like the 15th to the 18th pick for Miami that we're getting, which is still a very valuable pick. I'm not saying it's not.
Yeah.
But you would like obviously to trade like how Miami did with the Texans.
Oh yeah, Miami made out like they might still get exactly the same guy they were going to draft at 3 at 6, and they picked up and what they ended up with an extra first and a third. Like
but I'm saying even
like.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I'm saying the trade that they did with the Texans like 2 years ago or whatever for Tunsil, you're hoping that when you trade it for a team's future first-round picks, they're a team like the Texans that you can see bottoming out and getting that 3rd pick. I just don't see that with the Dolphins happening. So I don't see that being a great pick, and the Indy pick is already pretty limited on its upside because if it's like they have to make the playoffs or Wentz has to start a certain amount of games, so if they stink, he'll be out of the lineup, or if he gets hurt, it'll be a 2nd-round pick. But I'm fine with it. I'm fine with everything because this tweet from our guy on the painted lines, Shane Half at @halfandhalf_TPL. This tweet made me feel better about it. Pass catchers off the board by pick 12 by year. If you look at it, in 2011 there was 2, in 2012 1, 2013 1, 2014 2, 2015 2, 2016 0, 2017 3, and in the last 3 years there hasn't been a pass catcher taken in the first 11 picks. So it could be different this year. I do think that those guys will go higher this year. It'll probably be 3 gone. But I
think at least Chase and Pitts are definitely going to be off the board at 12. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, stranger things have happened for sure. And if we get Devontae Smith at 12, I think it immediately becomes like, all right, well, whatever.
If we get Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle, I think it's a great trade.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see. I feel like Waddle would definitely be there at 12. I mean, whether we take him or not, we'll see. I don't know.
My problem with it is doing it this early. I wish we didn't do it this early. I wish we kind of wait and saw how the board fell to us at 6. But I guess if the Dolphins were trying to make this move, like maybe they would have just made it with someone else. But I think that we probably could have waited on this. I don't love that we did it so early, but at least now we get to a change. If we would have done this on draft night, it would have even been more depressing. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm happy that now we have like a couple weeks to adjust, and like I'm starting to warm up to Patrick Surtain as an option at 12. Really, I do think Dallas is going to eye him up at 10, but it's turned into an NFL draft podcast. But we're going to finish this up here. Thank you for joining us, guys. Thanks to Pat for joining us. We'll be having him on more often, hopefully. Pat, you have anything? You got to say before you get out of here?
Go Phils.
Hell yes. Follow at Pat Moran 33 on Twitter. Hell of a follow on Twitter. He's very funny, way funnier than I am. And then go follow at Mark Henry Jr. _ on Twitter, and follow at Tough Cover Pod for any news on the BetRivers ad or XL Media's the sponsor. So follow them for any news on when the podcast is going to be this week or for the sponsorship. I haven't planned out this podcast coming up this week at all. So I'm flying by the seat of my pants. Thanks for joining us, and enjoy the winners.